Let me say a special good morning to our listeners and viewers this morning. Welcome to another edition of To The Point. Today being Friday. It's the 17th day within the month of March. Good morning once again to our viewers via our social media platform, especially the Facebook page. Good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's say good morning also to our viewers and listeners via our YouTube channels. How are you this morning? Hope you're doing good. Good. Let's say good morning to those of you who are viewing, listening also via, of course, webpage, that's gbn.gd. Welcome, and hope all is well with everyone this morning. It's Friday, and it's could be our final program for this particular week. And certainly, I hope it certainly will be an interesting one. And your participation is always welcome. Those of you viewing and listening. I'm your host, GT, and I'll be around with you for the next, should I say about 55 minutes or so? Be around with you. This morning, I got my guest would be this morning. Special guest as always. Was it just a couple of weeks ago I was mentioning that, we're probably going to have her back again. And certainly we have her this morning. Let me say good morning to Miss Daisy Hazzard. Good morning to you. How are you this morning, Miss Hazzard? How are you this morning? Hope you're doing good. Welcome.
Good morning, GT, and good morning to your listeners and viewers across the Tri-Island State and in the diaspora around the region, wherever you're found. And it's wonderful to be back with the GBN. I'm a bit rushed this morning because it was not exactly planned. Joseph Cador, you have a lot to answer for. But it is always a pleasure to be in studio on GBN and definitely to represent the Public Workers Union this morning. It is a double pleasure.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time out to be with us this morning. And it's always a pleasure to have you here on To The Point. Always interesting conversation indeed when we do have you. So we're going to get into the meat of the matter this morning. Elections. We know elections was yesterday. The PW, of course, had the election yesterday. Talk to us. Tell me about the process. How did the election go yesterday? Talk to me about the participation, especially from the members and so forth. How did that all go down yesterday as we move forward?
Well, election day for the PWU is always a contrast. It always goes very, very smoothly. There's never usually a hitch with the process. We've never had an election, in my recollection, where there's been any quarrel with the outcome of the election. But it's always a hectic day. It's always frantic. We have returning officers running all over the island, trying to find workers wherever they may be in their various workplaces. Because as you would understand, the Public Workers Union, our membership, we're very hard to find. We're not just all in one place. We're in the fields, we're everywhere. And so election day is always a bit fraught. You have workers who would call in and say, I went to vote and my name is not on the list and all of that. And so we had all of that yesterday. But participation in general was good. As usual, there were some glitches, and we will always go back to the drawing board to see where we can fix the process, where we can amend the process to ensure that in another cycle, some of those same problems do not recur. But altogether, it was a wonderful day yesterday, a peaceful day of elections, and we do have a victorious outcome for our members.
Well, before we move on, let me take the time out to personally congratulate you on being the return as the Public Relations Officer. Although you were unchallenged, but yes. Certainly I'm sure you're happy to be back and, of course, continue the work in terms of moving forward, taking care of workers' plight as you move forward once again.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, GT. And I definitely made a decision to return to the executive of the PWU in the position of PRO. It wasn't a light decision. It's always a matter of dwelling with the Spirit for me when I decide what to do in terms of the union executive. And I decided that I would not leave my union without the services of a PRO while I seek another post or another office on the executive. So I did consider running for first VP. And on the day of nomination, when another member of the union walked into the hall, we had a conversation one-on-one, and that member intended to run for the position of first VP. And there was nobody, there was no signaling at all up to the close of the day that anybody would be running for the position of PRO. And so I decided to just step in and fill that role again. And so my position was uncontested. But members, I do want to thank you for your outpouring of love and support in the last couple of weeks, just going around the island, listening to workers, talking to them, trying to determine from our members on the ground where we have served you well, where you believe we might have failed you, and where you would want to see your union go. I've had this outpouring of love and support overwhelmingly. So in fact, members went out yesterday looking for my name on the ballot paper. And I want to shout out a big good morning to the members on the Sister Isles of Carriacou and Petit-Martinique. I know a lot of you were disappointed yesterday when you did not see my name on the ballot paper, but I thank you as well for your support. Our president, Brother Brian Grimes, he has been returned by an overwhelming majority anyway you look at the numbers, and that is quite a validation of his work, the work of the outgoing executive, persons like myself, and those of us who will come back on to form the executive. And Brother Brian Grimes is and has been expressing his heartfelt thanks all over the place this morning on social media. I know he's out there again stomping this morning, telling workers thank you.
All right.
Sister Paula Phillip, our hardworking treasurer, this is your third term in office. We both got into the union executive at the same time. We made the decision, we challenged each other, and we are coming into now our third term in office, myself as PRO and Sister Paula Phillip again returning as treasurer. And members gave her an outstanding, a resounding validation and support yesterday. So what we've seen, GT, is that despite all the noise on the ground and all the noise in the market, according to one of our very famous Grenadian prime ministers, what really sold was not noise, was the hard work, was the dedication of this team in building the PWU within the past 2 years. And it is a validation of the executive, the core of the executive, and of Brother Brian Grimes.
All right. If you don't mind, because it's one of the questions, or you start talking about it technically when you were in your previous statements. Just give for the listeners and viewers out there. Just give us a rundown of the executive as it stands now, so we know how we're moving forward.
Okay, so you're asking me to remember all the names.
Yeah.
So you have a president.
Mm-hmm.
Our executive is composed of almost about 13 members. There's a president, there's a first VP, a second VP, and then you go down the line. There is secretary. There are two assistant secretary positions. There is a position of of the PRO, myself, your humble servant. There is position for men's chair, women's chair, youth chair. And of course, the executive secretary always sits on the council meetings because that is the person who manages and administrates from the secretariat the day-to-day business of the union. Because remember, all of us who sit on the executive, we are full-time employees of the government. Let me just say hello to my PS, Finney Jeffrey, the scholar this morning. We are full-time workers within the government service. And so what we give to the union is voluntary service. And there is always a conflict in terms of how we manage time for the union and time for work, because it's a lot of work.
Okay.
So that's what the core of the executive looks like. Now, what we have happening is that the first and second vice president, former first and second vice president, challenged the position of president. They lost. Brother Grimes won. But you have persons like myself, Sister Paula Phillip returning, Sister Nikisha St. Bernard returning. We did lose the services of one of our very excellent executive members, Sister Let. We wish you good morning wherever you are. And we lost her services, and she was an excellent member of the PW executive team from 21 until she had to rescind that position just this year. But what you have is that there is a core team that has been in the union, building and working for more than 2 years. Brother Brian Grimes came in, met myself and Sister Paula 2 years ago. There is Sister Nikisha St. Bernard. She's the president of the Nurses Association. We have Sister Janelle Palmer. She's been on the executive for the last 2 years. She's back now as an assistant secretary. Sister Tasha Joseph. And we have some new blood. There's a young lady who is coming as secretary. Brother Grimes brought her into the fold. We were able to convince her to take up an executive role. She ran unopposed as well for the position of secretary. And we're always excited when we get that younger, fresher blood and dimension in the union.
All right. We due for our first break, Ms. Hazzard. Let's take it. So we come back. We certainly get into more discussion on the entire process of the elections and the way forward when we do come back from the break. Stay with us, Wendy. Hey, folks, it's To The Point for today, Friday. We'll be back right after the break.
Annual Easter clearance sale is here, and boy, do we have some exciting deals for you. Massive savings on tires to be had with discounts from 10 to 35% off on all tires store-wide. Buy all we have in the low stock model and watch your discounts skyrocket with a huge 50% off. Plus, get chip edge tires for as low as $1. Yes, we're clearing out our old stock to bring in the new. And that's not all. The Easter Bunny has added extra savings on tubs, bathroom vanities, tile tools, and so much more. It won't get any better than this. Jump on these excellent deals and visit our Island Style showroom on Monroe Road in Grandans or call 439-TILE. That's 439-8453. Sale ends Holy Saturday. When you think tile, think Island Style.
Health, are you ready? Good. At the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Religious Affairs, we have prioritized as well as branded the year 2023 as the year of mental health and wellness. So we are extremely excited about it. Staff is excited about it. So thank you very much. Let's rock.
Shift the paradigm, mobilize and get back
Grenada. This is the big one. The countdown has begun for the grand launch of Project Grenada Shifts. Safer, healthier, innovative moves for a transformative society. This mega event takes place on Thursday, 23rd March at Lassages Plainfield, St. David, with a massive health and wellness fair from 12 noon. A wellness walk from 5 p.m. led by Prime Minister, the Honorable Deacon Mitchell, and Health Minister Senator, the Honorable Jonathan Lecret, from the St. David Health Center to Lassages Springfield. Fitness drills, health screenings, loads of entertainment, and much more. All powered by Wakati Sound System. So register early to get your t-shirts and paraphernalia by contacting the Ministry of Health on telephone 440-2649, extension 21021, or the St. David Health Center at 444-6249. Mark your calendars and join us. Move that body. Take full control of your health and wellness. This event is organized by the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Religious Affairs.
That's the carrot move. Shouldn't something we all can do. Together as one, Grenada, move. Step up, that's the shift.
Do you know, when you play the games of the National Lotteries Authority, you are supporting sports, culture, and nation building in Grenada, Carriacou, and Pitimaknik?
Hi, I am Junior Murray, cricket coach, sports enthusiast, and a former West Indies cricketer. I endorse the games of the NLA 100%. For the past 40 years, the NLA has been funding many sporting activities, including competition for schools and clubs, and for athletes to participate in overseas tournaments such as the Carifta Games and the regional cricket tournaments. Additionally, they made it possible for you, the public, to view local, regional, and international tournaments from the comfort of your homes. For those reasons, I play the game of the NLA. Even if I do not win, I know Grenada always wins.
Yes, when you play all the games, the NLA in turn supports sports, culture, and nation-building activities throughout the Tri-Island state.
Let me say welcome back, listeners and viewers, to the point for today, Friday, March the 17th. And this morning, I'm talking to Public Relations Officer, Miss Daisy Hazzard. She's with us this morning, and we're talking about the elections and the way forward after the elections. You know, Miss Hazzard, there has been talk around in terms of individuals wanted a different outcome from this particular elections. What's your say on that? From in terms of the conversation you may have been hearing and so forth. What's your say on that?
Well, I believe every election will have that dimension, and that's what makes it interesting, and that's what also allows the best person to win. Because where you have an election and there is no contest, there is no discussion. And in this election, there were 3 persons vying for the top position, and that is the position of president. And definitely, everybody will have persons who believe in them, persons who believe in their work, persons who support them. And so they will have persons who would want to see them win. And so all 3 candidates who vied for the position of president got votes and had members who supported them. But outside of the members and the workers of the Public Workers Union and civil service workers, you do have players out there in the entire society that takes a keen interest in the business of the union, because we do play a very pivotal and vital role in the macro business of the society. And so there are persons that we would have seen a lot of feedback. Just last week, the presidential candidates were on the Bob Report, 2 of them, and there was a lot of talk. There was a lot of opinions in terms of what persons want to see. And there definitely was a pushback, a prevailing kind of opinion against Brother Grimes returning as president out there in the public domain. A lot of that was driven by political motivation. There's no trying to wonder what the motivation was, because it was definitely couched that way by persons who cared to be vocal. Some of it was from among members who said, I'm not satisfied. I do not feel his work. I know that maybe there are things that have been done, but I myself am not satisfied. I want a different outcome. And that's part of the process, and we definitely respect that. But what has happened yesterday is that the members of the PWU returned an overwhelming majority to Brother Grimes and has said and declared, we are satisfied with his work in the last 2 years, and we are willing to give him a chance to continue that progress for another 2 years.
Now, with the election out of the way, you understand it's out, it's all and gone. What's the way forward now for the PW? What's some of the key plans that the PW have in terms of moving forward right now? With the elections out of the way, it's the least thing you folks want to worry about. What is the way forward for the PW right now?
The drawing board. I had of course, conversation with my president very late last night. We also spoke again this morning. Some of those of us who are returning on the team, we had conversation, and we've been able to see where we've made inroads, where we've made progress based on some of the things that would have been said and promised 2 years ago, based on the objectives that we would have set ourselves. I took on the responsibility 2 years ago to organize and host a retreat for executives so that we could plan our way forward, so that we were not just guessing and wandering around. Because when I came onto the executive 6 years ago, there was no such thing happening. And I've already put together a plan for our retreat again. But we know what members want. We know where members believe that the union ought to go. We've heard members in canvassing, as I say, members in taking the opportunity and the time to walk about the length and breadth of Grenada in the last couple of weeks. Although I was not vying for any position, but I didn't want to be coming to serve membership from my own perspective and my own objectivity. But I wanted to hear from members, what do you want? Where do you see your union want to go? And our members have asked us in the main, in general, to educate them about trade unionism, to empower them so that they know their rights and their responsibilities. Because it is very clear that in the last number of years, there's been no training of members of the public service and the civil service corps when they enter the public service, not by the employer. And that is their responsibility to know what are these rules and regulations that govern me. But members want their union, and they want to be union strong. And so they have made some demands of us, and we definitely will be going forward and working together with members to satisfy the needs that they have identified.
You know, there's been conversation in the public domain, you know, as individuals, you may hear folks talk from time to time, and they're saying, we're not hearing or feeling that strong go get there from, the unions today. And in this particular dimension, no, as it was probably with the previous administration and so forth, they find there's a layback attitude that has been assessed for individual or saying that in the public. What is your take on that? I see you smiling. I'm not sure reason for the smile.
I smile because the environment and the water in which the unions swim seem to change so very rapidly. There is one time when you would have that hooray, hurrah for the union's work by certain members of the public. And then you would see the same members of the public, the union doing the same work in a different kind of environment, condemning the union, criticizing the union, even members. In walking about, we have met members who have said, we don't need to negotiate for salary increases. We should not take salary increases because the administration of the day is so wonderful. But we've met workers who have said to us, I am not settling for a percentage increase that cannot help me to sustain my livelihood and my family. We have met workers who have said, well, I do not want a percentage increase. It will mean nothing for me. Get me a fringe benefit. And so there is always these forces that would say what the union ought to do. We listen to our members, and we are going to work towards what our members want of us. And what we really have to do is just sort of try to ignore the noise in the market. We have to be aware of the prevailing environment because this is the milieu in which we work. We cannot be unmindful of the winds that are either driving towards us or against us, So we have to be mindful of that. But there is always the noise. And when I joined I didn't join the government service, the civil service, as a member of the core public service. I joined as a teacher. And I remember when I joined that there was this union strength and union power, and you immediately gravitated to that. And I always speak to the time when I got my first back pay. And I think it was perhaps the only back pay like that I received as a worker in 1990. That back pay was earned in 1989, I think, through a lot of demonstration and striking. And at that time, as a young member of the public service, wherever the union said to me, go, I would go. But what has changed over the years is that there has been a lot of changes in terms of how workers are employed. In those years, you did not see the prevailing climate of contract work as you see it now, where members are onshore because their tenure in government is not secured. In those years, all persons were employed in the majority by the Public Service Commission, and that was in itself an inherent protection. Now, in the last 20 years or so, what you have seen is that there are more contract workers, there are more unestablished workers. There are people laboring in the vineyard of the government service who do not even know what their employment status is because they have no contract or no letter which defines it. And so that has definitely impacted on how our union has been able to do business. You've also had a lot of toxicity at the level of leadership for a lot of years. And that has sort of divided our membership and dominated. But we definitely know that in the last 2 years at least, there's been a calm, there's been a soberness that has been brought back to the leadership of the PWU. And I know definitely that I've been out there pounding, doing the work along with the other members of the executive. And we have a basic strength on which we can continue to build.
All right. Let me also ask you this. What we hope to hear from the union now in terms of the way forward? What are some of those pressing issues, that the union will be going after, in this as now the new, bodies will form, the folks continuation. What are some of these pressing matters that we're going to be seeing that the union going after for in the upcoming, for the rest of the year as we move forward?
There are several burning outstanding issues on the table. The issue of health and safety across the public service is always one that the union has to be dealing with. We can never lay it down because if workers work in sick buildings and in sick environments, they become sick. That impacts the entire country because if you're paying for a worker to be sick, if you're paying because your persons are coming down with respiratory illnesses and they cannot be on the job they have to be off the job more than they can be, or they go to work and they cannot be productive, that's something that the society and the government ought to fix. That's something that the employer has to fix. We go around workplaces and we see workers working in conditions that they ought not to be working in. In fact, we have educated our members and let them know where your situation, your work, the physical environment that you're placed into work compromises your safety. You have the authority to remove yourself. You let your union know. You let your supervisor know. You can put that in writing. You can do a text message, a call, something that documents your grievance and remove yourself. I went into a building last week where workers say to me, Ms. Hazzard, when the rain falls, the light flickers on and off. When the rain falls, we have to put buckets around. When the rain falls, there's a problem with the electricity. And you're asking workers, but you've remained here? Yes, Ms. Hazzard, we've told the minister, we've told the parliamentary representative for the area presently, but we are still here. And that situation is not unique. There's the instances of mold and so across the service. And so we are definitely monitoring those. We are working along with the employer, or we try to, once the employer allows us to help to deal with those situations. As I said again, one of the ongoing roles and primary purpose of the union is to mobilize our membership, to help them to understand the role of the trade union movement and their union in their life as workers. And that's something that we definitely will be doing. There's other pressing issues. We have the issues of persons who are on contract or who are unestablished. And we definitely will be pressing forward in very, very aggressive ways to deal with the matter of contract and unestablished work. We have persons who pay union dues but never receive a salary increase at all when salary increases come due. And that is a matter that we definitely have to work on immediately.
Also, there's also a matter that I would just like to ask you before we take another break. Elections was yesterday, was wrapped up, as I said, it's time to move forward. What would the new executive getting their time to settle in and so forth? What different will we see in terms of the approach we will see coming around this time around with the executive now? Maybe there were some things in the past that, that may have caused folks to have those varying opinions in terms of wanting a new president. What we will see in terms of moving forward, we will see the executive doing different this time around.
Right. Well, to be honest, I do not know what other presidential candidates might have wanted or might have offered to members in terms of the service that they were willing to put forward, because there were some candidates that the silence was very eerie. You heard nothing at all from them or about them or what their plans and intentions would have been for the union. You heard one candidate articulate, well, I listened, but I really could not find a coherent, objective kind of a strategy in terms of where we were going to go with the union. The union is not a social club. We can do some of that because any and every organization needs social activity and a social life in order to allow persons to be able to bond. When you can bond socially, you can work together far easier because you understand each other. But as I said before, what we'll be going forward to do is to really energize our base. We'll be a lot more out there in the field with our workers. We have to prioritize that. I don't know where we are going to find the time, but workplace visits, meeting our members where they are. Every time we have a meeting, we ask our members to come to St. George's. And I have been grieving about that. I brought that to my president as a grievance several times, that I'd like to see us have pocket meetings in various districts. We've done that in Carriacou, and we did that more than once in this sitting of the of the executive term, because that was something we had promised workers in Carriacou and Petit Martinique before we got into office. And so now, again, the focus for us and the thrust for us would be to meet our members where they are and to organize our members where they are so because you see, I'm not the union. The president is not the union. We can provide the leadership, but the union is strong in as much as every single organ, every member of the union is strong. And I just want to say on this note, hearty good morning to the nurses and the entire medical team at the St. David's Medical Center. Good morning to you.
All right. Thank you once again, Ms. Hazzard. We'll be coming right back after the break. We continue the conversation. To our viewers and listeners, if you do have a question or two you would like to ask, of course, Ms. Hazzard, you feel free to do that in the next segment coming round. 435-2041. Let's take that break. We're coming right back.
Welcome to the highly anticipated second season of Caribbean Medical TV, the first and only medical TV series that showcases the Caribbean and the emerging issues on all health and wellness forums in our region. Like season 1, the voices of our very own citizens, our local and regional doctors and medical experts forged the basis of the show. This season, we take the first groundbreaking original show even further. This This series aims to empower our people with knowledge, from ways of detecting to ways of healing ourselves, protecting citizens with chronic diseases from COVID-19, while showing how they can manage their conditions effectively and safely receive needed health care while preserving what constitutes the very core of our Caribbean culture, its predilection for flavor, spirit, and rhythm. This is truly a holistic wellness agenda for our Caribbean people.
Kerani James blazed the tracks at the National Stadium. Anderson Peters dominated at the same venue. Both were elite athletes before moving on to the international circuit. Grenada, the pursuit of glory has returned as secondary schools are back on the track and in the field. And GBN is here to shine the spotlight on our emerging stars. Join us for the live broadcast of the annual Intercall Games on GBN television. Coverage begins 9 a.m. on March 28th. 3 days, 74 events, 23 schools, 2 champions to be crowned. Republic Bank Inter-Secondary Schools Athletics Championship, March 28th, 29th, and the 30th at the Kerani James Athletic Stadium. GBN, with you, everywhere and anywhere.
Let me say welcome back, listeners and viewers, to the point for today, the 17th day of March, with the year 2023. And this morning, I do have the, of course, Public Relations Officer of the PW with us this morning. And we started off talking, about the elections, the process, the way forward, and so forth. And we continue in this segment. Don't forget, listeners and viewers, if you do have a question or two that you may like to ask, you feel free to do so in this segment. And let's take a call in this segment. I do have a question I would like to ask you, but let's take a call. I've been holding there for a while. I think we lost a caller, so maybe I just get into the question part of it. Is he back with you? And good morning once again. Now, when we had the last, when you last was on To The Point, we spoke in length about the negotiation process that is going on. Any updates that you would like to give to the viewers and listeners over here on the process, how it's going on right now?
Well, the update is the same thing that I would have said last time I sat with the GBN. We should have had a meeting with the GNT, I think it was this Tuesday, to continue the process of salary negotiations. And very predictably, that meeting was called off by the GNT. As I said before, the discussions and negotiations at the table has been very amicable. We've made a lot of progress. The government has moved its position. The union has moved its position. Presently, where we are with government, the offer on the table is 4 across the board for 3 years. Unions have properly rejected that. And we look forward to sitting with the GNT for the next round of the process, because we would like to close that process. In fact, we were hoping that the process could have been satisfied and closed off, such that members could see their increases in their paychecks at the end of the month. But maybe they may see it in the first bi-monthly paycheck in April. We've also started negotiations on the fringe benefit aspect of things. As I said before, when we started the negotiations process, our union wanted to prioritize first, before percentage increases, negotiations for fringe benefits, because our members have not enjoyed fringe benefits for quite a long time. The GNT has admitted that government has just not been honoring or paying fringe benefits. And this administration, through the GNT, the head of the GNT, has already committed to doing that. So members, if you are listening out there, find the last fringe benefit package and see what you can take advantage of. But we definitely want to reassure you that we have started the process of fringe benefits negotiations. The GNT has asked us to prioritize some things. It's kind of difficult for us to do that because unless we have a wide package of fringe benefit offerings, the general membership will not be able to take it up. But we have identified some priority areas for the GNT. We have put together a full package that in general, most members, somewhere, wherever you are, might be able to take advantage of. And we also look forward to satisfying that process so that we can get things signed off on legally so that our members can begin to enjoy benefits, fringe benefits.
Let me take this caller. There's a caller been holding there for a wee bit. Let me entertain this caller and I come back with more questions for you. Good morning to you, caller. Welcome.
Hey, good morning to you, GT. Good morning to Ms. Daisy, and congratulations to you and your successful reaffirmment, and to your union, and to President Brian Grimes. What I like about your persistence and your reliability is that you do not listen to the naysayers. And I would always say, I am not a fan of people that is discriminating against workers, employers, doing all kinds of nonsense, government, me too. But you guys have shown what you call fortitude, which I like. But what I also like to point out Ms. Daisy and to Mr. Brian Grimes, you guys was unanimously voted back in, basically because you're doing a good job, like prior governments, and I call it no name, right? But yet we have a system right now going on that we are seeing workers being going home, some of which your union is a body, you represent some of these workers. And I am very interested to see, with the advent of what happened to the former Labour Commissioner recently, what has been going forward? What is the recourse going forward with this new team? What will be done towards these workers? Because clearly, the president previously, couple months back, did voice his concern, and did voice that he's going to do something with it, that he was chastised. Like you rightly said, you also been chastised. I give you all the power. Like, I'm glad you guys are reappointed, and that means you're doing a good job. Once you're doing a good job, you continue to do what you're doing because you like what you do. I would like to see redress for all these workers that is being sent home. My problem is the person that's supposed to give a little recourse to the workers that have been sent home has been sent home. So that person been fired in the name of the Labour Commissioner. So I'm waiting to see what is the outcome of this, and this is my concern, and I would like to see you guys May 1st, and I want to see the message on how the no Labour minister will confront these issues. Have a good day.
You also, caller, thank you very much for your contribution. Anything you want to say on what the caller said, Ms. Hazzard?
Well, the caller has said a lot to unpack, and definitely I'd like to respond to the caller. And there's two things that respond on. Thank you so much, caller, for your sentiments of support. And you have used the word fortitude. And definitely, in the last several months, certainly, we have had to find a fortitude and a resilience and a strength inside of us that had previously not been tested as union leaders. I've been in the union fold now for 4 years, and I'm used to feedback from the public, negative ones, criticism, and so. But in the last several months, it has become what I term, for me, because I'm the one feeling it, verbal violence. We have been subjected to a lot of verbal violence from members of the society just for doing what is the mandate of the union. And the caller has asked about workers who are being sent home. Our union, as you know, caller, we came out into the public domain after weeks of trying to discuss with the employer behind the scenes the firings and the unjust movement of some of our workers, members, due-paying members to the union. Because I've seen it said out there, even now, you hear people keep saying it, that the union, Daisy and Grimes, chose to represent 5 workers from Caracol that were not members of the union. They are due-paying members of the union, or they were. Some of them have been fired. One of them was fired even as the grievance process was before the Labour Commissioner. This is totally unorthodox. It should not have happened. It violated the process of natural justice. It violated the process as laid out in the Employment Act 1999, where workers who have grievances can seek redress. We are looking at a situation now where the very qualified Labour Commissioner that was employed by the government, hired by the government 4 months ago, was fired summarily because, as the Minister for Labour said to us, she wasn't a good fit with the personnel at the Ministry of Labour. And so we definitely hope that ministry settles down. I want to salute our sister Sparkle out there. You are holding the reins right now. But we are looking forward to continuing that process before the Labour Commissioner to see what comes out of it. What is the recommendation that the Labor Commissioner will make to the minister? And once that process happens, we will decide, we will be able to determine where we go next with the case of those workers. There's also a lot of workers a number of workers who have been terminated summarily. They brought their attention to the matter their matter to the attention of the union, but has said to us that they are seeking a different kind of recourse. And at this time, union is not representing their matter, but I can assure the public that their matter is represented, and in due time we'll hear about it. We also have seen something that we've not seen in the public service in the way that it's being done for quite a while now. We are hearing of workers being investigated. We have heard about the police investigating matters in the workplace. I think there is a concern about leaks, and we definitely are concerned about that as well. But again, the SRNO lays out the process. It lays out infringements. What happens when the employer believes that a worker has contravened a section of the rules and regulation, and how is that employee dealt with? There is a process, and I want to refer to the judgment that we saw coming out of St. Vincent and the Grenadines this week, where the workers who were terminated summarily during the COVID-19 period, they won their matter, and they have to be paid all of their salaries, including damages. And what the judgment said is that the process was violated. It was improper how the matter was conducted. We know that presently there are at least 2 workers who have said to the union, reported to the union, that they have been sent on administrative leave by the PSC. That is also part of the process. We had not seen anything happen before that. That was where the matter started based on what our members have said to us. And so we are monitoring, and we monitor the process of how we represent members when there is a grievance is always very slow. It's never a pressure cooker on the fire. It's always slow because you wait to see what happens, what's the moves by the employer, and then union can make its move. Or sometimes we can preempt it, but more often than not, we have to wait and allow the process to unfold. And each step along the way, we respond to what is happening. So that's where we are at the present moment.
All right. We do have another caller. Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Good morning. Go right ahead with you.
Good morning, GT, and morning, Ms. Hazzard. I think I must congratulate the union for doing, I think, I don't always understand or appreciate some of the things they do, but I think this time in your election, that was the best thing that could be done in terms of stability and everything else. So having said that, congratulations. It's interesting that in the last few days, some of the issues I've raised, including with you, Ms. Hazzard, has been brought up in a town hall meeting. One of it is the customer service, which really is rotten in Grenada, extremely rotten. And it was raised, and I think the Prime Minister said that they will be definitely doing something about it. And I remember you said it was the employer's responsibility or so, but I hope the union now could join with the government and ensure that we have service. The issue of health and safety, occupational health and safety, came up, and I'm glad I heard the guy raise it. And because a lot of workers, and in fact you alluded to some of the aspect of that in terms of condition workers have to work. And I really wish we can do something about it to make work safe, hospitable and so on, because a lot of the workplaces. In fact, a few years ago, I went up to the hospital, and in the place, I had to use that toilet. I was in the casualty, and the condition was so terrible. I mean, I can't understand how in a health facility we could have had that situation. Similarly, even much years before, in the Ministry of Health, not now, where the condition was so bad, people didn't even use the toilet. Anyway, so I hope that we could work on that, and I agree with you, Ms. Hazzard, that in terms of where, in response to the question that GT asked you, the atmosphere is different. So if the atmosphere is different, you work with the atmosphere. Unlike 1989, when we forced the government to sell Grentel to pay workers and so on. But I think if we really do our part, hold one another accountable, we can make here a peaceful place to live. Thank you.
Thank you also, caller. Thank you for your contribution as always. Anything you want to respond to what the caller mentioned?
Thank you, caller, so much for your comments, for your analysis, your reasoning. We really value it. We value you. And I want to start where you ended because I didn't make notes and you said quite a lot. But the question of holding each other accountable to make this a better place, that's such a powerful statement because that is the role of union, to hold government, the employer, accountable. That is the role of union, to ensure that across the service and in the workplaces, members can work. Members are equipped and trained to do the work that they are paid to do. Members are provided with a sort of a physical space and environment where they can work conducively. And definitely, while it is the responsibility of the employer, there's no question about that. If customer service across the public service is poor, then it means that successive administrations have done nothing or have done a poor job in training workers who provide customer service. And while you may have frontline members of the service providing customer service, all members of the service should be trained in providing service to the public because that is what we do. And it cannot be taken for granted, I've said this ad nauseum, that a worker, because you have a master's degree or a PhD or a baseline qualification, that you have people skills, that you have the soft skills that say how you treat with someone who walks into a government workplace. It cannot be taken for granted. It has to be nurtured. It has to be cultivated. It is a skill that can be developed. And the employer has a responsibility to ensure that it is done. From the union's end, we definitely know that where our members are not skilled and trained, they will run afoul of the rules, that the public is going to continue to complain. And so we also have a responsibility to partner with government, if government would so allow, to ensure that our members receive training that they need. But it's not our primary responsibility. But from our end where we sit, if we can educate and empower members so that they know their rights and their responsibilities, it makes our work easier in terms of the number of grievances that we may receive from workers and the grievances that we may receive from the employer and the general public. So it's a question of holding each other accountable and working together for the good of Grenada.
All right, let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning, you're welcome.
Yeah, two things I want to ask. I know the government paid the retroactive payment. Two things. I want to find out, those persons that get a retroactive payment, are they receiving an additional monthly pension from now on? And number two, I remember they was talking about pension reform. What is the state of the talks between the government of Grenada and y'all in terms of pension reform? Because I know you're going to tell me it's a constitutional right and the government is supposed to cater accordingly and adjust their books. But when that law was passed since 1958, the public servants, the numbers were small. So all I wanted y'all, I'm not saying that y'all shouldn't get y'all pension, but please bear in mind is the taxpayers that have to foot the bill. And we taxpayers, to tell you the honest truth, yes, we would want all to get all the pension, but please be reasonable. So two questions. Are there people that retrieve the retroactive payment? Are they now receiving a monthly payment? And I'm just begging that you all be reasonable when you're asking for in terms of pension reform, because we'd love to give all you. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you also, caller.
Thank you, sister. Thank you so much. I know that you're an ardent supporter of the government, but you're also a friend of the union. And your comments are always very objective. You give blows where it's needed and you give praise and support where it's needed. And we really, really want to thank you for that, because that sort of objectivity we do not often see from the public. And you ask a question and I've answered before, and I'd really like to take the time to drill down into this question that you've asked before. And perhaps we just need to have one sitting where union can discuss and share on this with members of the public like yourself. The concern about how the state of Grenada will continue in perpetuity to pay pensions is a valid one. However, the state of Grenada, since it instituted pension laws for public servants in 1958, has been paying pensions, and it has not bankrupted the state of Grenada. Yes, the pensioners who received their retroactive payments that were due to them, they will continue to receive a monthly pension payment until the good Lord sees fit to call them home, because that is what is provided for them. All workers, regardless of where you work, in the private sector, in the public sector, and you collect a pension gratuity, which is an upfront payment on your pension. Once you collect that as an upfront payment, you do continue monthly to receive a payment. I want to assure you, sister, that the government and people of Grenada, the taxpayers, have never stopped paying pension to civil servants. Because even up to last year when the judgment came in, there were persons retiring every year who were not affected by the Pension Disqualification Act of 1984. So government has continued to pay pension. It has not bankrupted the state. Now you do have a situation where this bulk of persons, and it's not hundreds, remember the numbers are very small still, receive retroactive and will now receive a monthly payment. And that is an added burden, yes. And I want to tell you something here this morning. It will be an unpopular statement, but our union, we had discussions. We sat down and we drilled into this thing scientifically with advice from experts. And we had a plan and ideas and suggestions that we had meant to offer this administration in terms of how we felt from the union, from the PWU, that government could manage and satisfy the retroactive payments to members and continue to pay payments such that it was not a shock to the finances and the economy of this nation. We were not given that opportunity. We welcomed when the administration said to us, we are paying everybody everything all at once. Because of course, if someone owes you and they say to you, I want to pay, and I'm paying now, you're not going to reject it. But we did have suggestions and ideas that we had properly put together. And when the administration came into office and we wrote to them signaling, we'd like to sit with you to have conversations, that was some of the conversation that we were going to bring to the table. We were not given the opportunity. I want to also say to you that it is the responsibility of the employer to plan for. A person does not earn a pension when they begin to work. They earn it 40 years later, based on the time you start working. And there is enough time for the employer to plan. How do we plan for? How are we going to pay this person when they mature, when they reach the age of maturity? And if that is done, it means that pension can refurbish itself. We prepare for the persons who's going to go next year, and in turn, every new worker who comes in, prepare. Our government or the employer prepares for that person, and in turn, that money can pay workers in turn. So it's not supposed to be a burden on the state if it is planned for properly, and this is what governments and employers all over the world do, and our government has a right to do that and the responsibility. You ask another question. I think you asked the question of reformation of pension and also contract workers. We do not know what government's thoughts and plans are at this moment. They have not shared. They have not been engaging this union, which is a union that represents the biggest bulk of public sector workers on this island. We have not had engagements with this administration. Although we have sought it, we have repeatedly asked for it, but we are also planning. And as a union, we cannot just sit like a duck while we hear, by the way, sometimes now and again, that the administration is planning and working towards something. The work that is being done now is premised on the work that this union fought and advocated for under the previous administration. So the baseline, the data that government needed to collect, that was done by the previous administration. All of that was collected up to last March. And so we know that anything that is being done now will be done on the foundation of the work that the union laid, but we are not part of that process so far. But what we will do as union is to do what we have to do to ensure that we get the outcome that we need and require for our members.
All right.
But we are willing, we stand ready to work with the administration because we know that this is our role. That's our mandate. This is why we are union, to work with government.
All right. As you know, we are a bit strapped for time, but there's a question that has been posted here via the Facebook page. So let me see if I can throw it out to you. And someone on Facebook is asking now, what's the union views on the bill that was recently passed?
The union's view on the bill that is now going through the stages of the sitting of the Senate and so, it's not yet passed. It has passed one sitting of the House and it's going to go to another sitting. What we have heard from legal minds and legal experts in this society is that there are areas of the bill that concern them. What we have heard from the Bar Association of Grenada is that they were not made privy to the bill, that the administration in the norm did not share that bill with them so that they could have scrutiny of it and give feedback on it as should properly happen. That social partners in the society and the labor movement, the Trades Union Council, was not given sight of this bill so that we can give feedback. And what it means, therefore, is that government has a responsibility to engage in the consultative process And to say that the concerns of the public is stupid, that's the word of one of the administrators in Parliament this week. It's not my word. I heard a government member saying that the concerns is stupid. It's stupid. I've heard a member of Parliament talking about people liking to play that game and go down low, where you are talking about a bill that will have impact on the citizens of Grenada. The data protection bill is a piece of necessary legislation. We need it for our protection. But if there is concern about the draft bill, government has a responsibility to listen to the public, to heed our concerns or the concerns where they come from. To say to the public, it is for your own good and therefore we are doing it, that is not good enough. Government is not a doctor of the citizens of Grenada. What you are here to do is to lead us, to guide, to work on our behalf. And if citizens in this country are saying we have a concern, government ought to heed that concern. I also heard from the Parliament that, well, Mr. Speaker, we could just pass it so. And when we pass it so, if people have concerns later on, we could always come back and amend it. That's so easy to do. And to be honest, I was very perturbed and very, very concerned at the kind of discourse that I heard from the Parliament on a bill that persons are saying they have concern with. But we know that the administration will do the right thing because they work on our behalf. And so it is our hope that government will engage in the consultative process and listen to stakeholders and make the adjustments to the bill where it is necessary before it's enacted into law.
Ms. Hazzard, I want to thank you once again for being with me this morning. I know we're a bit strapped for time. The program should have already ended. Any final or closing comments you'd like to make before we take a wrap this morning?
Well, I just want to say again to members of the Public Workers Union of Grenada, hats off to you, hooray to you. You spoke resoundingly and overwhelmingly. Brother Brian Grimes received a mandate from you in terms of the numbers that was more than he got the first time that he ran for president. When we also looked at the raw data, even if the two persons who contested the position for president, even if we add their scores, it still does not surpass the score that Brother Brian Grimes got. So we know that it is a validation of his work. It's a validation of the work of the executive. There is no one-man show at the PWU. Obviously, GT and the public, you would know, I am a force to be reckoned with. And there is no way that any president can run a one-man show at the Union Hall. It has been attempted, and it has never worked, not for the good of members. And so we are a team. We are a united team. We are a cohesive team. Most of us have worked together before, so we know our strengths. We know where we have to show up and support each other. We look forward to the support of the general public, and we want to assure you that everything that we do is for the benefit of workers and for the benefit of the entire state of Grenada. We support the administration because Labour has no choice. Regardless of which political party forms the government of the day, Union supports the administration and the government of the day. So this administration has our full support because they are the people that this country gave a mandate to, and we look forward to working along harmoniously with the government, with the employer, to make life better for our workers, and in turn to build and transform a beautiful Grenada. So thank you very much for having the PWU.
Thank you once again, Ms. Hazzard. Have yourself a lovely day. Hope we can do this again in the near future. Have yourself a lovely day.
Not too soon, GT. Bye. God bless everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Have a good one. Hey, folks, that's what we come to the end of To The Point for today. It was a pleasure having you. Those of you who are listening and viewing, thanks for your participation. Those of you calling. And once again, have a lovely, lovely day today, folks. And this is the final program for this week. Join me again next week for another edition of To The Point. All the best, folks. Have yourself a good day. That's why I say goodbye for today.